Welcome everybody to the 2026 Formula 1 Canadian Grand Prix driver ratings. If you're new here, every single Grand Prix weekend on a Monday, we hop on the stream and we rate the drivers out of 10. Now, we're doing it on Tuesday because obviously yesterday's stream, we were doing something else. If you weren't here, we had a big stream where we were helping Oni Pixel get his wheel set up. So we didn't do our Grand Prix review and driver ratings yesterday, so we're doing them instead today. Now, how this works is we're going to go in reverse finishing order of every driver, talk about their weekend as a whole, and rate their performances out of 10. I like to look at their performance over the course of the whole weekend, so all 4 sessions, because it was a sprint weekend, and we rate them out of 10. We also have a poll up in chat for you guys to vote on. So let's get straight into it. So first off, we have got Arvid Lindblad, first driver to not finish the race. Didn't actually start. There you go. Prediction. Not prediction. Poll is up in chat. This is how it's going to look. So every single driver, all you have to do is type in Twitch chat a number and it will pop up on the poll. So wherever you feel like his weekend was out of 10. So let's get into it. So Arvid, in sprint qualifying, qualified P9, best of the rest. He out-qualified Carlos, who's only 1/10 off of Isaac Hedger. Liam didn't get to compete in sprint qualifying, so it was a bit annoying that we couldn't compare each other there, but best of the rest, amazing, did an awesome job. And then in the sprint, he finished P8. He got 1 point in the sprint. Now Liam managed to move his way up the field, so it looks like they did have a really good car, but still to finish best of the rest, 2 seconds ahead of Franco as well. Amazing job from Arvid in those 2 sessions. And then followed it up in qualifying. Best of the rest in main qualifying, out-qualified Liam by 3/10. Also out-qualified Franco Colapinto. Best of the rest, again, but didn't get to start the race, which is a shame. Now, obviously, it's a sprint weekend. I'm not going to give him an inconclusive because we had 3 sessions to look at, and he was fucking amazing this weekend. Best of the rest, best of the rest, best of the rest. For me, that's a 9. I'm giving Arvid a 9 for this weekend. I'm only knocking 1 point off because we didn't get to see him in the race. I mean, to be honest, he's a 10 for every single session that he competed in. Yeah, so is there anything in the sprint that he might get something knocked off for? But yeah, 9. Obviously, rating the performance. I'm saying, no, 7, 8. What? You're telling me Arvid was best of the rest of every session, and he's getting a 6 or a 7, 6 or a 7 or an 8. Come on, can't go high with no raise. Yeah, but rating the performance for the sessions we saw them in. And I'm taking 1 off for that. But then again, if we are just rating the sessions he did, maybe he deserves a 10 just for the sessions he did. No, 9 because we didn't get to see. And also we didn't get to see him in compared to Liam. So we just have to knock 1 off. But I think 9. He literally did everything perfect this weekend other than his car breakdown in the race. Yeah, what are you guys saying? Majority of you guys saying 7 or 8? That is so harsh, man. What? You don't have 2K available. It was a great weekend until the race. What's up to Destroyer? What I'm sure you did. I'm under 8 or 9 to be fair. He really is doing well as a rookie, isn't he? Yeah. Despite the DNF, can't go high with no raise. No GP race though. So how do you know it'll be a 9 or a 10? We're not saying it will be a 9 or a 10. We are giving him a 9 or a 10 based off of the performance that we did see. You know what I mean? Obviously, if this happened on a normal Grand Prix weekend, it would be an inconclusive. But yeah, it feels weird rating with no main race. See, I disagree. We got 3 solid sessions that he performed in. So he gets a 9 for his performance over the course of the weekend. I get what you guys are saying though. You're getting a 9 for not participating in the race, but it's performance ratings. It's performance rating. Anyways, I'm giving him a 9. I think you guys are harsh. But you guys do you. You guys do you. All right, next up, we have got another driver who didn't really compete in the race, but competed in the rest of the weekend. We've got Alex Albon. Get your votes in on the poll. What do you vote, Liam? Not Liam. What do you rate Albon out of 10? Na 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 every day. Parties like a melody in my head and I keep up on the singing like na 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 na. Bang a tune, bang a tune. Every play. Okay, Albon. So Albon in sprint qualifying. No, that's the race. In sprint qualifying, he didn't start sprint qualifying because he hit a rodent. Is it a rodent? A groundhog. They're not on road, are they? He had a groundhog in practice, not his fault. So couldn't compete in sprint qualifying, so we're not taking points off for that. And then in the sprint, finished in P19, but it was a lap down. What happened? Did he do an extra pit stop? Why is he so far down? What happened in the sprint? I can't remember now. You can't do anything hitting the groundhog, then getting hit by Oscar. Unlucky weekend, yeah. Practice? Yeah, but did he pit? I can't remember. And then in normal qualifying, he got qualified by his teammate by 6/10. He went out in Q1. Carlos made Q2. 6/10 is not a good margin, to be honest, for Albon. And then in the race, he got taken out by Piastri, which was not his fault. Honestly, I'm tempted to give Albon an inconclusive. What do you guys think? I feel like the groundhog fucked him up in sprint quali. His sprint was a throwaway. And then his race got ended. We've only really got qualifying to look at. And, like, his qualifying sucks. So if I was going to give him a rating for qualifying, it would be like a 5 or probably a 4. But, I don't know. Also, his qualifying is a pity because he doesn't really get much laps in. So, I don't know. I'm going to go inconclusive for Albon. You guys are going to give him a 5, though. That is assuming you guys wouldn't. If you guys didn't give him inconclusive. But, yeah. All right. Inconclusive for Albon. Let's move on. Next up, we've got Alonso. We've got a lot of drivers who didn't finish the race. So Alonso was actually having a really good weekend. In sprint qualifying, he out-qualified Stroll by 6/10. Out-qualified Perez, out-qualified Gasly, out-qualified Bottas, and was only... No, yeah. So he almost made Q2 if it wasn't for... What happened in SQ2? Or SQ1? Oh, no, it's himself. Was it himself? Oh, no, he did make SQ2. Sorry, he did make SQ2. But he crashed. So, yeah. It was quick, but crashed. Then, in the sprint, he DNF'd. I think just car issues, right? And then in qualifying, he qualified P19. This time, not as good of a qualifying as he had before. Did out-qualify Perez, did out-qualify Bottas, and he out-qualified his teammate by 1 whole second exactly. So, yeah, good in that department again. And then in the race, DNF'd after 23 laps because of mechanical issues. Alright, DNFing in both races because it wasn't his fault, but then doing good in both qualifyings, but then crash out. I don't know. What do we do? I think this might have to be an inconclusive as well. 2 races that we don't really get to see him finish. It's too hard to rate. I don't know. I mean, we can conclude that he's better than Stroll, but then we can conclude that he binned into the wall. We'll go inconclusive for Alonso here. To both races. If it was a sprint quali and a race, or like a qualifying and if one of the sessions was a qualifying, I wouldn't do inconclusive. But both races, that's a bit of an L. Majority of you guys saying a 10. Okay, we're trolling. We are trolling. Bottom 6 this year is kind of just a different league. Let me out, yeah. Well, it's getting better though. This weekend, Cadillac and Aston really close the gap, so it is getting better for sure. All right. Anyways, next up, woo! We got a big one. We got a big one early on because he retired from the race. We've got George Russell. What do you rate George Russell's weekend out of 10? Get your votes in on the poll. Okay, so George Russell, sprint qualifying, P1, out-qualified his teammate by 1/10. Amazing. Got the job done. 2/10 ahead of the McLaren boys as well. Then, in the sprint, defended off Kimi. I thought perfectly. You know, you could argue the racing and the rules should be different. But as per the rules, he pushed Kimi off track. Kept the position. Won the sprint. Well done. And if you put it in the context of championship rival, he also demoted his championship rival down a place. So, beautiful, beautiful. Then, in qualifying, backed it up again. 1/10 ahead of his teammate. 2/10 ahead of the McLaren boys. Perfect. We then got to the race. Now, this is where it kind of fell off a little bit for Russell. He did lose 2 positions off the start. He lost out to Lando. He lost out to Kimi. He then got back past Kimi. Battled. Made a couple of mistakes in the race as well. Now, then he broke down. So, we are a bit limited because we don't know if he actually would have beat Kimi if he would have made more mistakes. But from what we did see this weekend, Russell was performing at a higher level. Few mistakes in the race, but a lot of people are making mistakes. I think Russell, I don't know, I'm leaning towards an 8. I think 9's too high because of all the mistakes he made in the race and the race start. You know, I feel like I'm already knocking 1 point off because we didn't get to see how the race ended and if he actually got to battle and beat Kimi. So I'm knocking 1 off for the unknown, and I'm knocking 1 off for the mistakes and the race start. Maybe there's an argument even for like a 7.5, but I think I'm going to go for 8 because he was such a high level in all the other sessions. So I'm happy with an 8, but what are you guys saying? Oh yeah, by the way, after you put a rating in chat, type out a reason why, because I do want to see what you guys have to say. Even about the DNS, the DNF, I'm not sure he would have done that well, to be honest. His pace was poor. Fuck, that was a long message. A message from a while ago. I can't see what you're talking about. Should we talk about Alonso? Is it true that Merc engine will change for Monaco? Do you mean like with the compression ratio? I think that's Spain. I think Monaco's the last one. I could be wrong though. Oh, compression ratio is for Monaco. Ooh, interesting, interesting. I guess we can't really know for sure though until Spain because Monaco is such a different Grand Prix. How's it going though, IK Tempest? Well on the stream. Thank you so much for the follow, dude. We need to have seen at least on race to judge race pace. Yeah. Too many mistakes in both races. Out quali was good. And I don't think Russell made any mistakes in the sprint. Am I wrong? Top of each session, he finished, but he made a couple mistakes in the race that drop him 1 point. Lindblad 9, Russell 8. Yeah, I do think Lindblad had a more consistent weekend. Lindblad didn't make any mistakes. Russell made a mistake off the race start, made a mistake. So yeah, I do think Lindblad had a better weekend than Russell personally. But then again, obviously you could argue, well, Russell's under pressure from a championship rival. Lindblad's not, but yeah. The mistakes were mostly inconsequential. I felt Kimi had better race pace. He couldn't have done much more. He was in the lead. Yeah, too many lockups. Compression ratio drama feels like it was years ago now. Yeah, I feel like people have just eradicated that from their mind after all the FIA, like, oh, it doesn't make a difference. Anyways, majority of you guys saying on 9 for Russell. I do think that's too high, given the unknown plus the mistakes he was making, but all good, all good. All right, next up, we have got Lando Norris. Polls up for Lando. What do you rate Lando's weekend out of 10? Get your votes in. So, Lando, he got P3 in sprint qualifying. He outqualified his teammate by a few milliseconds, but slotted the McLaren in exactly where it should be. 2/10 off the Mercedes. I think that's about right. Then, in the sprint, capitalized on Kimi and Russell battling and got P2. Got the job done. Finished 8 seconds ahead of his teammate. Really, really well done. Then, in qualifying, again, P3, milliseconds ahead of his teammate, and only 1/10 off of Kimi, 2/10 off of Pole. Again, doing his job exactly how I think he should have. However, in the race, terrible strategy. I obviously now know that Lando is actually asking to go on the right strategy, so I'm not going to blame him. Usually I'm like, guys, you got to remember that these drivers have a say in the strategy. But Lando did have a say in the strategy, and he made the right call, but the team just won't let him do it. So I'm not going to demote any points for him because of that. So, yeah. In the race, he did a really good job of moving through the field, and then his engine went kaput. Honestly, I think Lando's had a really solid weekend. I think I'm going to have to give him the exact same rating as Lindblad of a 9. He had a great weekend. It's just a shame that the strategy combined with the DNF cost him 1 point. Cost him 1 point of not being able to see what he could have done in the race. But other than that, 3 great sessions, 3 perfect sessions. Did way better than Piastri did. So a 9 for me. But what are you guys saying? 8, but more than 8.5. 8 minimum. 9 is way too high. Same as Russell. One had played around with the power unit fair. Such a good race run by the team and unluckiness. 5, he wanted to start Inters. His mistake? No. So we now know that Lando and Piastri are both asking for the tires. How would you rate Onipixel? Oh my god. Probably a 2 out of 10. 1, probably he gains a point for his eagerness, but yeah, that driving yesterday was terrible. Considering the leeway given to Arvid, I'm giving a 9, if not a 7 or 8. Norris better than Russell. Wow. Yeah, I do think Norris was better this weekend. Again, Russell was toying with his teammate and made mistakes. Lando didn't make any mistakes. I don't, yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, Kimi and Russell have a harder job of being the championship leaders against each other, but where's Piastri? You know what I mean? I don't know. I think Lando was better this week. He was more consistent. Yeah. Lando didn't have anyone to make mistakes against. Lando was probably the strongest driver this week. Yeah, I think Arvid and Lando are probably my 2 drivers of the weekend. Maybe Lewis as well once we get to him. I'll have more of a think about it. But yeah. Anyways, majority of you guys said 8 or 9 out of 10 for Lando. All right. We've got a couple of the big boys out of the way. Back to the shitters. And another driver that didn't finish the race. Sergio Perez with his suspension sneezing off. Okay. What do you rate Sergio Perez out of 10? Get your votes in on the poll. Again, if you're just tuning on in, we're doing our driver ratings like we do every single Monday. It is a Tuesday, though. If you're watching on YouTube right now, come join us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Ponden. There's where you can vote on the polls. Okay, so Sergio, he qualified P17, outqualified his teammate by 8 tenths. He also outqualified Gasly and Stroll. So amazing qualifying from Perez, in my opinion, for the standard of that car. And then in the sprint, he finished P14. He finished ahead of Hulkenberg, ahead of Stroll, ahead of his teammate, ahead of Behrman, ahead of Albon, ahead of Gasly, ahead of Hadja, who had issues, and obviously ahead of Alonso, who had issues. Solid sprint for his standards. Then in qualifying, same again, outqualified his teammate by 8 tenths. Holy, and outqualified Stroll. Again, putting the Cadillac exactly where I think it should be. And then in the race, however, he ended up sneezing off his tire. But where was he prior to that? He was leading Bottas by 10 seconds. He was leading Bottas. Bottas went on a different strategy. He was leading Bottas. Outracing Bottas by like 30 seconds. Obviously, the traffic plays a big part in it. You know what? Great weekend again from Perez. What did I give Perez last week? I feel like he's had a very similar week of just annihilating Perez and doing a good job. He had a 5-second pen. Fair. I don't know. You know, again, we're rating the performance. I don't know. I feel like Perez has done really well. 8? I don't know. It's always hard to rate a driver when they're in a bum car, but, like, okay, what am I knocking? Okay, I'm going to knock a point off of Perez for maybe not being closer to Alonso in both qualifyings. And then I'll knock a point off his pen. What did he get a pen for again? I can't remember what he got a pen for. 8, great sprint. Race was back to normal and couldn't do much about that car. Yeah. 1 for the unknown because he's at the back of the grid. Yeah, we'll go 8. Solid weekend again for Perez. He's really impressed me this year. I love to see it. I always felt, and maybe this is the Red Bull coming out of me, I always felt Perez was a better driver than Bottas. But now I feel like it's finally being proven. So, yeah. Oh, the Liam incident. Yeah, fair. Oh, I should have demoted him even more. All right. 8 for Perez. Well done. All right, we get on to the first driver of our list so far to finish the race. That is Valtteri Bottas. What do you rate Bottas' weekend out of 10? Get your votes in on the poll. So, Bottas qualified P20 in sprint qualifying. He was 8 tenths off of his teammate. So, dead last. Then, in the sprint, he did beat Behrman, Albon, Gasly, and Hadja. Don't know how. But he finished many seconds off of his teammate. Then, in normal qualifying, 8 tenths off of his teammate. Outqualified by Lance Stroll. Dead last. And then, in the race, finished dead last. Finished behind Stroll. Finished 4 laps down on the leaders. Honestly, once again, very, very bad weekend from Bottas. I'm gonna give him a 4. 3 is the lowest rating I do for someone who doesn't crash. So I'm gonna give him a point extra than my lowest rating that I give for someone who doesn't have a crash, because of the fact there was a sprint weekend, 4 sessions, and his job is to just bring the car home. And he brought the car home in the sprint. He brought the car home in the race. He finished the race in a Cadillac with no damage. Yay! Well done. Well done, you. So, yeah. 4. Majority of you guys saying 3 for Bottas. I mean, again, I do agree, but I'll give him an extra point for finishing. All right, next up, we have got Lance Stroll. Kind of similar situation. Get voted on the poll for Stroll. What's up, Desi? Is it still hot? I'm so hot. I'm trying to rush through these ratings as quick as possible because we're at peak hotness in my room right now. It is 30 degrees outside, And it is the point where the sun perfectly hits my room, and I'm so fucking hot right now. Like, my back is wet. My back is wet. Anyways, so Lance in sprint qualifying out-qualified Pierre Gasly, but got out-qualified by his teammate by 6/10 and got out-qualified by Perez, which shouldn't be happening. Then in the sprint, he finished ahead of Behrman and Albon and Gasly. Woo! And ahead of Bottas, but behind Perez. Then in qualifying, got out-qualified by his teammate by a whole second and got out-qualified by Perez by 7/10. How is that possible? Then in the race, he finished ahead of Bottas, but on the same laps down. So yeah, Stroll basically the same as Bottas, to be honest. Behind his teammate, behind Perez as well. So 4. Did he have any problems? Anything to demote a point? Again, we'll give it a point for actually finishing the races and keeping it clean. But did he have any penalties or anything like that? I can't remember now. What's the temperature side? Let me tell you, actually. 34. It is 34 degrees in my room right now. It is hotter inside than outside. Like, I'm not even joking. This morning I woke up and I literally left the house. And sat outside in the sun because that is colder than being inside. Anyways, I am hydrating. I've refilled my water like 4 times. And I feel like I'm getting LED burn from this fucking timing sheet that I'm looking at. Anyways, did anything happen to Stroll? Stroll, Ocon, and Bottas, and maybe Albon should leave next year. Albon! I agree with the other 3, though. Does Lance ever get above 5? Usually not. Did you consider sitting outside in the shade? No, I wanted a tan, bro. It wasn't that hot. That's what I mean. I like being outside. I like the heat outside. Heat inside? Hell no. Okay, 4 for Stroll. We agree. All right, next up, we have got Esteban Ocon. Would rate Ocon's weekend out of 10? Get your votes in. Oh my god, I'm opening my door. It's too hot. I think my aircon's overheated because it's gone quiet and it's not pumping out cold air. It's just pumping out. It's just fanning, I guess. Oh my god, I'm so hot, bro. Alright, let's try to get through this. Hello? Hello? Oh my god, I can't even have my door open. It's too much echo. Okay. Ocon. Let's talk about Ocon. Let's try to get through this quick. Or quicker than normal. I don't want to, like, speed through it. So, Ocon, in sprint qualifying, out-qualified, made it through to SQ2, and out-qualified Behrman by 2/10, so well done. And then in the sprint, he finished in P13. He finished ahead of Hulkenberg, and ahead of his teammate. So, he's done pretty decent at the sprint qualifying, and the sprint finished 3 seconds behind Gabby. And then in normal qualifying, he got out-qualified by Behrman. He went out in Q1. Behrman made it through to Q2. He got out-qualified by 4/10. And then in the race, he finished in 14th. He finished a whole lap behind Behrman, 4 positions down. He got beaten by Bortoleto and Hulkenberg. So how much time did he finish behind Behrman, actually? Yeah, he literally finished like a minute 40 down. Holy crap. I don't even know what to rate Ocon here. Okay sprint qualifying or decent sprint qualifying. Good sprint. Below average quali. Very poor race. 5? Maybe a 5? I don't know. Can you make the same video for Cologne Major Pick'ems, please? I can't do that. I don't have the knowledge, man. I don't have the knowledge. 5, to be honest, can't remember anything from Ocon's week. I mean, he finished 1 lap down on his teammate, average 1 to 2 seconds slower a lap. This might be the worst solid 1 or 2 performance ever. Chat, have we voted on Lewis yet? I think I'll go 5. Did he have any issues? Any issues to knock him down a point? Tago, Chrono, Crone Echo, and EO Haga, thank you guys for the follows from the stream. I'm just gonna leave it at 5, I think. Majority of you guys send 5 as well for Ocon. Right, Gabby Bortoletto. Oh, leaked. Spoiler. Next up, we've got Gabby Bortoletto. What do you rate Bortoletto's weekend out of 10? Get your votes in on the poll. So Bortoletto in sprint qualifying. Qualified P12, only a few milliseconds behind his teammate. The Audi boys doing exactly what they need to do. Bortoletto obviously being the worst of the 2 teammates, but both drivers did amazing in sprint quali. However, in the sprint, Gabby finished P12, 10 seconds ahead of his teammate. Not sure what happened to Nico there, so well done to Gabby. And then in qualifying, 2 tenths off of his teammate, finished behind Liam and Hulk. But still put in the car where the Audi should be. And then in the race, finishing right behind his teammate, only 1 second behind, putting the Audi exactly where it should be. Honestly, solid weekend from Gabby. Nothing too crazy. Got qualified by his teammate in the sprint and normal qualifying. Did a really good job in the sprint. Yeah, maybe a 7.5. Just kind of did his job, but didn't do it amazingly and didn't do it as well as Hulk, but doing well. You guys saying 5 or 6? Really? The only teams off the top of my head. Wait, what are you talking about Premier League for? 5, another one I don't remember anything from. Vars. I gave 5. Ocon. Gabby was better, so 6. I think Gabby was way better than Ocon. Ocon had no race pace. Gabby did. Gabby was close to his teammate. He didn't do anything exceptional. No, but he got the job done. Am I going too high with a 7.5? Alright, we'll go 7 then. It was still a good weekend. You know, he's putting the car where the Audi should be. So I'm gonna go 7 for Bortoletto. Can't believe you guys are giving him a 5. What? Are you guys tripping? Up it up. Alright, next up, we have got Nico Hulkenberg. What do you rate Hulkenberg's weekend out of 10? So Hulkenberg, like we just said, put the car exactly where it should be. Audi P11, a few milliseconds ahead of his teammate. However, in the sprint, he lost positions, finishing P15, which is a bit weird. And then in qualifying, he out-qualified Bortoletto by a 10th and out-qualified Liam as well. So again, doing a really good job. Oh, no poll now. Okay, polls up now. Revote if you didn't. And then he finished a P12 ahead of his teammate. Again, getting the job done. So, yeah, obviously he did worse than Bortoletto in the sprint. But he did better in sprint qualifying, in qualifying, and in the race. So I think I'm going to give Hulkenberg, if I gave Bortoletto a 7, I'm going to give Hulkenberg a 7.5. Yeah. Just a little bit better than Gabby this weekend overall. So, yeah. Majority of you guys send a 7 as well. Oh, we actually agree on that one. Okay. Ooh! Next up, one of the big boys. We're getting there now. Last of the non-point finishes. We have got Oscar Piastri. What do you rate Piastri's weekend out of 10? Now, Piastri, he qualified P4 in sprint qualifying. Only a few milliseconds behind Lando. So he's done a good job. It's just not as good as his teammate. Then, which is a big person he would get compared to. Then, in the sprint, he finished in P4, 8 seconds behind his teammate, and wasn't able to capitalize on Antonelli fucking around. So, and almost got beaten by Charles. So, I don't think, you know, again, not bad, but not good. So, I'd say pretty average for sprint, in my opinion. And then in qualifying, same again, only 1/10 behind Lando, but not as good as his teammate. At least he's doing his job, though. However, in the race, now, obviously, we can't disregard the fact that, like we did with Lando, that it wasn't his fault that he was on the wrong tire. He was begging for the soft, and they didn't put him on the soft. However, his comeback through the field was terrible. Lando was breezing through everyone. Piastri wasn't. He then goes on the dry line, on the wet line, locks up, sends it into Albon, basically ruins his race. Yeah, very, very poor from Piastri, in my opinion. So Sprint qualifying, good, but not better than his teammate. Sprint, I'd say average. Qualifying, good, decent. Race, terrible after the circumstances that were out of his control. I'm really torn on what to give him here. I feel like... No, I feel like if Lando could have come back, yeah. I think that's gonna be a... Like, he did not come through the field. Like, if you're put in a tough position, like, you gotta come back through the field well, man. Maybe it's lower than a 5. But his performance was close to Lando. We gave Lando a high rating. Well, it was close in quality, not in race pace. Maybe it is a 4.5, actually. Oh my god, it's way too hot, bro. I can't. David Hulsman, David the Volume. What, through the field? Awful recovery drive and crashed into Albon. I give him a plus for telling the team they're crazy with inters. Lando also had a car issues, but didn't fail to overtake Snails. If this was race only, rating would be a 3, yeah. So maybe he's just getting bumped up a little bit for the qualies. 5.5 perhaps, but at the end of the day, he could have got P6 if he didn't have damage. He died, bombed, and ruined out. This is race 2. Besides the race, he did his job. 4.5 is too harsh. I'll go 5 then. I'll go 5. He got himself a penalty and a slow pit stop. Fixes wing, leave him outside the points. Yo, Austrian Andy! Thank you so much for the raid, dude. I appreciate that. Welcome in, everyone from Austrian Andy's stream. How you feeling, man? How you feeling? Your legacy will live on, man. Your legacy will live on in the Only Pixel community forever. Guys, be sure to check out Austrian Andy, the best guide maker on YouTube. Yeah, thank you so much for the raid, dude. How was your stream? What are we up to today? Welcome to Golden Dragon, Max, Sal's Game, Grandpa, Mofal, Texas Ranger. Is that the Moser guy? Who, me or Andy? I think we should value the race more than quali and sprint. That is true. That is true. That is true. That is true. I think it's 4.5. You've swayed me. Sometimes I get too caught up in rating all the sessions evenly. All right. Next up, yeah, if you are just tuning in from Andy's stream, we're kind of doing our driver ratings in a 34-degree hot room. So we're trying to power through these really quickly right now, especially considering we're a day late on it because we were helping Oni with the wheel yesterday. Predictions, not predictions, sorry. Channel, poll is up for Behrman. What do you rate Behrman out of 10? So, Ollie, got out-qualified by Ocon by 2/10 in sprint qualifying, and also finished way down behind Ocon in the sprint, which isn't good. However, in qualifying, he out-qualified Ocon by 4/10, and then in the race, finished in the points. Got a point ahead of Piastri, ahead of the Audis, and ahead of his teammate by over a minute. So really good quali, or decent, I should say, decent quali, like above average. Really good race. However, disappointing sprint and underwhelming sprint quali. But obviously it's a race that matters, and he got a point. So I'm feeling like it should be a 7, I think. Why is his neck so long? He's like me, man. Long necks. Long neck brothers, man. Long neck brothers. Bad sprint, good race. Finish ahead of faster Audis, so a 7 for me. Yeah, I got the job done at the end of the day, but performance over the course of the weekend wasn't great. Majority of you guys saying 7. Now, normally I would spend more time talking about each driver, but one, it's an extra day after the Grand Prix, so like there's some stuff I've like forgotten, but also it's so hot in my room. We're gonna power through these guys. We're gonna power through these because I'm literally about to die in Minecraft. No cap, my base is getting raided right now, and I need to rush through this. Anyways, signs. What do you rate signs out of 10? Get your votes in on the poll. Can you also give us an Oni rating? I actually rated Oni before. I gave him a 2. I gave him 1. I just gave him a bump, 1 up. I gave him a little extra rating for his enthusiasm. But he was terrible. He was terrible. But he'll improve, man, you know? He'll improve. Now, to be fair, actually, maybe I'll give him a 3 because he went no assists, and that is commendable. Oh my god, I think I'm actually going to pass out. I'm putting my aircon up. Usually I wouldn't put my aircon on high when I'm doing something with no audio because it's just going to be loud, but I think I'll pass out otherwise. I'm not sick. It's 34 degrees in my room right now. And I've been streaming for 4 hours already. Alright. Okay, so, can you guys hear the echo? Okay, the mic's probably absolutely fucked for people watching on the VOD with no music right now, but... Signs. Oh my god, no, I can't with the echo, that's... fuck that. Okay, signs. In sprint qualifying, qualified P10, Albon didn't participate in sprint qualifying, so we didn't get to see, but he made it all the way through to Q3, SQ3, which is absolutely amazing, beating out both Audis, Franco, the Haas's. Awesome job. Then, in the sprint, held on to P10, obviously lost out to Franco, but, excuse me, held off Liam, and stuck with those boys in front, despite the car being slow. Well done. Well done. Then, in qualifying, not as good, P15, but I think that's probably where the Williams should have been. So, you know, doing his job, I guess you could say. And out-qualified his teammate by 6 tenths. And then, in the race, he finished in P9 from P15 to P9. Now, his teammate did get clattered, so we didn't get to compare him to his teammate. But P9, ahead of Behrman, ahead of Piastri, ahead of the Audis, ahead of Ocon. Amazing work. Amazing work from Sainz in the end. A top 10 finish in both the race and the sprint, and a really good sprint qualifying. I think that deserves a solid rating. I'm feeling like an 8 here. Maybe an 8.5? I'm feeling an 8, at least. It's hard because we don't get to compare him to Albon in sprint quali, and we don't get to compare him to Albon in the race. But, yeah, what was he disappointing in anything? He was only disappointing in qualifying. No, I feel like 8.5. Top 10 in the sprint, top 10 in sprint quali, and finished the race in the points despite a bad quali. He redeemed himself well. Maybe even a 9, to be honest. Like, why should he be lower than a 9? Top 10 in 3 sessions in a Williams. I mean, he got lucky, I guess, with the V-carbs. He got lucky, I guess, with a few things going on, but you gotta keep it smooth, man. You gotta keep it strong. I'm feeling a 9, actually. I'm feeling a 9. Arvid got a 9, and Arvid beat his teammate. Lando, yeah. The only thing Sainz was bad at was quali, but he redeemed himself in the race by getting a point. So, yeah, I'm happy with a 9. I'm happy with a 9 for Sainz. He started on Inters as well. No way. I feel good. I feel good about 9. Where's the poll? You just type in chat, Shashir. You just type in chat. You should get a cerebral, bro. I do. I do, Space Jam. I do. You can't give a 9 because no comparison to Alex. Well, that's what I'm knocking 1 off for. Compared to Piastri, also studying this, he was world class. Yeah. All right. Majority guys said 8. I'm saying 9. All right. We move on to Pierre Gasly. What do you rate Gasly out of 10? Get your votes on the poll. So Gasly in sprint qualifying got out-qualified by his teammate by 1.2 seconds. I think Gasly had a problem with his final run due to himself and his timing. So got out-qualified by Stroll, by Perez, by Alonso, by the Haas's. Not great. And then in the sprint, stuck in the same spot, beaten by the same guys. So not great from Gasly there, while his teammate is up in P9. Then in qualifying, also got out-qualified by Franco. Franco made Q3. Franco out in Pierre out in Q2. Gasly was 3 tenths off of Franco. Also got qualified by Bortoletto, by Hulkenberg, and by Liam. And then in the race, however, he managed to move up the grid, but still finished behind Liam, who was struggling on used softs, and finished 15 seconds behind his teammate. So this is a bit of a tough one, because in the end, Gasly got P8. But 15 seconds off his teammate, a position he shouldn't have been behind, which is Liam. Kind of got lucky, I guess, with everyone else fucking around. And sucked in the other 3 sessions. Maybe a 6 for, like, he got the job done in the end, but, like, barely. Yeah. Bad sprint quali. Bad sprint. Below average quali. And then a good result, but I'd say a decent performance, average performance in the race. I think 6 is good. I think 6 is good. and killed an animal. Well, in that case. Mac Flo, Stayin, and W Lewis, thank you guys for the follows. Majority of you guys said 6 as well. Yeah, usually I'd sit here and ponder a bit more. Ponden. But we're going through it quick. All right, my boy, Liam. What do you rate Liam out of 10? Get your votes in on the poll. So, Liam, in sprint qualifying, didn't participate because his car broke down in practice and wasn't able to participate in sprint quali. However, from the back of the grid, he moved up to P11, beating out the Audi boys, beating out Ocon, beating out the Haas boys, finishing 30 seconds down on Sainz, which isn't great, and 30 seconds down on his teammate. But he moved through the field nicely. He showed some pace, but it's just a shame that, yeah, he wasn't able to start higher up. No fault of his own. Then in qualifying, however, he was able to redeem himself, but he didn't. He qualified 3/10 off of Lindblad. Still qualified P12, but behind Hulkenberg and behind Franco. So average quality there for Liam. He did out-qualify Gasly and Bortoleto, though. And then in the race, he managed to finish in P7. He did beat Gasly on those used tires, but we didn't have Arvid to compare him to because Arvid didn't start the race. So yeah, I don't know what to give Liam here. I think he was better than Gasly. Gasly sucked in every session. We gave Gasly a 6, so I don't know, I feel like a 7? Or is that, I don't know, I always feel like I'm being too biased with Liam, so what do you guys think? Sebas, what is up, dude? Slower than rookie Arvid in all sessions apart from the race because of the DNS. Well, he didn't participate in sprint quali. He started from the back of the grid of the sprint. Yes, he was slow in qualifying. The race we couldn't tell. So that is an invalid statement from you. Getting beaten by a rookie is not ideal. When did he... I'm going to crash out, bro. I'm going to crash out. Yeah, I'm getting rage baited. Yeah. I feel like... people are going to see us... If this is the case, people are going to see a 7 and then be like... I'm going to crash out. He did participate in sprint quali. He redeemed himself in the sprint, but still maybe could have finished higher. Not great in qualifying, but it wasn't bad. He just got out-qualified by a few too many people. That he got out-qualified by Hulkenberg and was a little bit further off than Arvid than he should have been. But he drove really well. He held off Gasly. He finished P7. He got the job done. It's just a shame Arvid wasn't there. I feel like this would probably have been a 6.5 if Arvid was in the race. I think it's a 7 with Arvid out of the race. Does that make sense? I don't know. If I give Liam a 6.5, Gasly's got to go down to a 5.5. Considering it was a sprint weekend with limited running, I'd give an 8. I'm sick of 7. I can see why you think it's lower, but... no. 7 for Liam. Majority of you guys saying 6. That's harsh, bro. That's harsh. Bro finished P7 and gets to 6. Are you kidding me, bro? Are you kidding me? Alright, next up, we've got best of the rest. Franco Colapinto. What a weekend. So, Franco, in sprint qualifying, though, did qualify P13. He got out-qualified by both Audis, by the Williams, and by Arvid. But he out-qualified his teammate, which is important, by 1.2 seconds. Gasly was fucking around in sprint qualifying. Poll didn't go up, my bad. Poll is up now. Revote if you already did it. However, in the sprint, he managed to move his way up from P13 to P9, finishing right behind Arvid, only 2 seconds down, finishing ahead of Sainz, finishing ahead of Liam. Yeah, amazing recovery drive from Franco after his poor sprint qualifying. So yeah, really, really good result there. Then in qualifying, second best of the rest, behind Arvid, out-qualified his teammate again by 3/10. Out-qualified the Audi boys, out-qualified Liam, out-qualified, yeah. And then in the race, finished best of the rest, finishing 15 seconds up the road from Liam and his teammate. Yeah, it was really solid pace. Only finishing 15 seconds behind Hadja as well, because Hadja was fucking around, which should not have been the case, by the way. So yeah, honestly, Frank had an amazing weekend. I'm feeling a 9 here. Yeah. Obviously, sprint qualifying wasn't great, but he redeemed himself in the sprint and got P9. Maybe you could argue if he had qualified better, he could have got a point, so knock a 1 point off for that. Qualifying, maybe you could argue he could have out-qualified Arvid, but he did better than his teammate. And then in the race, I think that's where he makes up majority of his rating here for finishing P6. Part of me is like, maybe I should give him an 8.5 for the weak sprint quali and the quali, but although not being able to beat Arvid, but like he made it up in the race by finishing in P6 with a good margin. Maybe you could argue we didn't have Arvid to compare him to in the race, but for what he did, P9. He almost binned into the pit wall though. Definitely seems to be comfortable in that car now. Yeah, 9.5, 8. I'd be happy with a 9. 10. Best drivers of the grid were Lewis, Max, and Franco. I believe Alpine will get better this year. It's my policy. I only give 10 to one driver per week. Yeah, we're very strict with 10s. You have to have a perfect weekend to get a 10. No mistake. So it's really hard to get a 10 on a sprint weekend. All right, majority of you guys saying 9. We agree on that. All right, to the big boys now in the big boy teams. We have got Isaac Hadja. What do you give Hadja a rating out of 10? So, Hadja, in sprint qualifying, only a 10th off of Max. Did his job, qualified where he should do, ahead of Arvid and Sainz. Good. Then, in the sprint, broke down. Unfortunately, retiring from the sprint, not his fault, so that is a shame. Then, in qualifying, once again, did his job. A few milliseconds off of Max, also out-qualified Charles, out-qualified the midfield teams, did his job. Nice. So far, good sprint quality, good quality. Felt a bit in the race, though. He did finish P5. He did bring home solid points for the team, but he finished a whopping 1 minute behind Max, his teammate. He made a mistake and got a 10-second penalty for his move with Leclerc. And I think he made another mistake as well, don't you think? Do I remember correctly? So this is a tough one. Good quali, good sprint quali. Didn't compete in the sprint. Got a good result with his car, but finished nowhere near and made a mistake in the race. I don't know what to do here. Is it a 7? But then again, I feel like Liam had a better weekend. So is it fair to give him the same weekend? I don't know. Stopper goes even worse. Bro was sitting half the race in the pits. Pace was good, but the penalties were sloppy. Lucky that gap meant no positions lost. I'd say that means 7 instead of 8. To be honest, whenever Hadja was mentioned on the comedy, 90% of it was about penalties. Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm gonna sit down now, but I don't know. This is a tough one. Like, am I looking too much at the result? Also, am I looking too much at Red Bull standards? Like, for Red Bull standards, this is second Red Bull seat standards. This is really good. Franco didn't do free practice because of a problem with the car. Okay, we'll keep it a 7. I'll keep it a 7. But it does feel weird giving Hadja a 7 and Liam a 7, despite Liam having a good weekend with no problems and Hadja having problems. But then again, I guess Hadja was closer to his teammate than Liam. But then again, we can't really compare Liam to I don't know. We'll go 7. We'll go 7. We'll give Hadja the benefit of the doubt. But then like, he almost lost to Colapinto in an Alpine. I think I have to go 6.5. If they didn't have such an advantage, in car performance, he would have finished outside the point. If that was a normal driver, he doesn't get points. You know what I mean? Just too many pens. Sprint was awful. He didn't compete in the sprint. He had a car problem. Wait, did he? Why haven't Hadja in the sprint? I thought his engine broke down. Wait, what happened in the sprint? No, I need to remember what happened in the sprint. Engine died. That's what I thought. 6.5 is harsh. Is it though? He got beaten by his teammate, which I mean, it is Max. Nah, I think a 6.5 is fair. You got to think about it this way. If he was Kimi Antonelli, okay, let's put it into context here, right? If he was in a Mercedes and he finished a minute down, he would have finished P5 in a Mercedes. If he was in a Ferrari and finished a minute down, he would have finished P5. If he was in a Alpine and finished a minute down, he would have finished outside the points by a mile. If he's any other car and he finishes a minute down, he finishes way outside of the position. He finishes a minute down on his teammate. Didn't he get a 7? Yeah, but Liam didn't fuck around, did he? Yeah, I think I gotta give it a 6.5. Liam was... it's hard to compare Liam to Arvid because they basically didn't compete in the same sessions, but What are you guys on about Liam, bro? What are you... No, I'm going to crash out. What are you guys on about Liam? Liam didn't compete in sprint quali and came through the field to finish P11. In qualifying, yes, he could have done better, absolutely. But he finished P7 in the race. We didn't have Liam to compare. And I still gave Lindblad 2 more points than Liam. Yeah, getting better right now. I got 6.5 for Arvid. I think, sorry, for Hadja. I think if... What was I going to say? Oh, I think if you didn't take the second Red Bull seat, if you took the second Red Bull seat into account, I think it's a 7. But, you know, we're trying not to do that. Why does your stream hate Liam? No practice, no soft tire runs at all. That's what I'm saying, Chris Dumps. That's what I'm saying. People just hate Liam, bro. People just hate Liam. All right, anyways, we'll move on for Hadja. I'm going to stick to my guns of a 6.5. But I get where you guys are coming from, but 1 minute off your teammate in the race, multiple mistakes. Anyways, next up, we've got Charles Leclerc. What do you guys rate Charles' weekend out of 10? Now, this is another similar one to Hadja, to be honest. So, Charles, 1/10 behind his teammate in sprint qualifying. Not bad. He got his job done. He out-qualified Max and Hadja. But still, 1/10 off his teammate in sprint quali. Then, in the sprint, he finished ahead of Lewis. Lewis making a mistake at the end of the sprint. And Charles getting past, just capitalizing on that. But he wasn't beating Piastri, and he wasn't even in the race with Piastri and Lewis for most of that. Then, in qualifying, got out-qualified by Lewis by 1/10, as well as Max and Hadja. So, disappointing qualifying for Leclerc. And then, in the race, finished 34 seconds behind his teammate. Finished 30 seconds behind Max as well. At least he beat Hadja, but he was battling with Hadja, and we know what level Hadja's at right now. So, I don't know. Sprint qualifying was decent. Like, he got the job done. Sprint, he beat Lewis, but the pace wasn't there over Lewis and Piastri. He only really beat Lewis because Lewis went for a move, which was okay. Qualifying was poor, and then the race was, I don't even know.
But Liam was so horrible in second Red Bull seat. Hadja has had a really good race every single than Liam ever did for Red Bull. Bro was driving in yesterday while Max was driving in tomorrow. Hadja is so close to Max these days. One day he is being a world champion. / successful rage bait.
Bro didn't even do it properly. Best dude there with 100 bits, dude. Cow Moo there with the wallet. Not successful. Well, I don't know what to give. I don't know what to give Leclerc here. Like, he wasn't that bad in sprint quali. He beat Lewis despite the race pace not being there. Qualifying, he's only, to be fair, he's only a 10th off Lewis despite being behind the Red Bulls. It's just the 30 seconds off of the race. I think the thing is, for Charles's brother, he had an absolute stinker. But, okay, this is what I'm going to say to you guys then. Because we're going to get to Lewis in a second. And everyone's going to start glazing Lewis's weekend. Which he did. He did have a good weekend. But, if you look at it, Charles was only a 10th off Lewis. That's not bad. Like, he still did his job. He out-qualified the Red Bulls. In the sprint, he literally beat Lewis. In qualifying, he was only a 10th off Lewis. He should out-qualify the Red Bulls, 100%. But he's only a 10th off of Lewis. And then the race, he finished P4. Yes, he's in a Ferrari. Yes, he was 30 seconds off his teammate. And that's because of the McLarens being out of it. But, like, Piastri's down in P11, bro. Piastri's down in P11. Had just fucking around. He at least got the job done. If you're going to give Lewis a fucking 9, which I'm sure you guys are all going to do, we can't then give Leclerc a 5. I don't know. Comparing to what Lewis did with the car, he was nowhere. Didn't do much wrong, but not much right either. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's tough because I coming into this rating, I was also thinking about rating Leclerc super low. I was thinking about rating Leclerc super low. But then you look at it on paper and you're kind of like, he kind of still got the job done, which other drivers didn't do. I don't know, man. I don't know. He was meant to be in his prime, and he finished 40 seconds behind a 41-year-old. I mean, yeah, that is bad pace. But he still got his job done. Yeah, because of Lewis's mistakes, not because he was good. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, to be fair. If McLaren's and Russell's still in the race, he's P6. Yeah. J Mizzle, name of the follow. Yes, on paper he was good, but on tarmac he was poo, by his own admission. Yeah. We rated Lewis low for being far behind him previously, but he wasn't far behind on paper. Well, the race he was. Let me try doing an average here. Let me try doing an average. Sprint quali. Lewis fucked up his final lap. So both Ferraris could have outqualified McLaren here, to be fair. So, yeah, actually, when I think about it, yeah. I'm comparing him to Lewis in sprint quali. But both Ferraris should have outqualified McLaren here. So it was actually probably like a 6 for Leclerc here. Maybe a 5 in sprint quali. In sprint, he beat Lewis, but he didn't beat the McLarens. Yeah. Actually, now I think about it, I see where I'm going wrong on paper here. I'm comparing him to Lewis in sprint quali when Lewis also made a mistake in sprint quali. And I'm comparing him to Lewis in quali, and Lewis also made a mistake in quali. I should be comparing him to the McLarens. Okay, I'm going to redo this. Leclerc finished behind his teammate who made a mistake in sprint quali and got outqualified by both McLarens. In the sprint, he beat Lewis. Only because, not because of pace, but because of Lewis battling Piastri, but still finished behind both McLarens and was not in the fight. Then, in qualifying, finished behind Lewis, who made a mistake, behind both McLarens and behind both Red Bulls. And then in the race, finished 30 seconds behind his teammate, only beating Hedger. Yeah, okay, you guys are right. When you put it like that, he had a bad weekend. I don't know why I was comparing him to Lewis when I forgot that the Ferrari should have been better than McLaren. So with that said, it was pretty poo. But at the end of the day, he still got P5 in the sprint and P4 in the race. So it can't be lower than a 5, right? It can't be lower than a 5. He should get the same vote George got in Miami. What did Miami get? George get in Miami. Ilnom. No, is that how you pronounce it? How's it going to do? It's not. Oh, no, it's 7:44. Gets a point off for crying on the radio. I like F1. What's up, Jay Mizzle? If the other cars didn't have the issues, the play would have been P7. He himself said it was the worst weekend so far. I think it says a lot. He literally said it was one of his worst weekends. No, I'm not disagreeing with that now. 5 is too harsh now. Guys, make up your mind. Make up your mind. Imagine having to go 1.5 seconds slower a lap just to not crash. That's diabolical. Now you guys want me to up it. Now you want me to up it. 5 is too high. 6, come on. Okay, we've got split opinions here. We'll go smack bang in the middle. We'll go 5.5 then. Honestly, my brain's fried with Charles. Because it was a bad weekend, but at the same time, he's still... This is my problem, right? We'll come back to this rating, okay? We're going to come back to this rating after Lewis. We're going to come back to this rating after Lewis. Alright? We're going to come back to this rating after Lewis, and I'll tell you why in a second. But I'm going to stay at 5.5 for now. Majority of you guys saying 6. Okay. Top 3 time. Max Verstappen. What do you guys rate Max this weekend out of 10? Get your votes in the poll. So, Max in sprint qualifying. He qualified P7, exactly where I think the Red Bull should be. Ahead of Hadja by 1/10. I mean, you could argue the Ferraris made mistakes in sprint quali, and he wasn't able to beat them. But I think he qualified where I think the Red Bull should have been regardless. So, yeah. Then in the sprint, he held position whilst, had issues. Finishing 5 seconds behind the Ferraris and 14 seconds ahead of the V-Cubs. So, kind of, doing his job in the sprint, doing his job in quali. Then in normal qualifying, same thing. Doing his job, out-qualifying Hadja by a few milliseconds and out-qualifying Charles. Again, you could argue maybe he should have beaten Lewis because of Lewis making a mistake, but I just don't think that Red Bull had much more pace. So doing his job again. And then in the race, out-racing Charles, out-racing his teammate, finishing in P3, only 1 second off of Lewis. Lewis, who had a really good race pace as well. He was actually out-racing Lewis for most of the race. What? Wait, by the way, what happened? How was Max beating Lewis the whole race to the end? Yeah, ultimately couldn't hold off Lewis, but still had a really good weekend. Really good race and finished on the podium. So, yeah, did his job, and then overdid his job in the race. I think that's like a pretty solid rating. I don't know. I feel like that's like an 8. I don't know. Should it be higher? Should it be lower? I don't know. Like, he wasn't outstanding, but he wasn't bad. He didn't really make... Did he make any mistakes? I don't think he made any mistakes either. Maybe it is an 8.5. I don't know. Save the follow. What do you guys say? Maybe we'll change my mind. Wow, everyone's saying 8. The most obvious 8 I've ever seen from Max. 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 9 if he held off Lewis. Yeah, I guess you could argue. Okay. That's a good way to look at it. Let's knock off 1 because he didn't capitalize on the Ferrari mistakes in quali. Or Charles's lack of pace in the sprint. And then he also didn't beat Lewis in the race like he maybe could have. Plus the unknown of the McLarens and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, 8 seems right. 8 seems right. Lewis had power deployment issues for the first half of the race. Lewis had some car issues early on and later made a mistake that cost him 5 seconds and also around 2 seconds for sleeping under VSC. He did what the car could do. Solid 8. A go of 8 pace was good, especially in race, but he won't have got a podium without Russell DNF. I mean, yeah, but you can say that about any driver, I guess. All right, we'll stick to an 8 then. We'll stick to an 8. All right, we'll move on to this one. I think the Ferrari boys are polarizing. I'm really curious to see this. Before I say anything, I want to see your guys' ratings. What do you guys rate Lewis out of 10 for this weekend? I feel like I'm going to get so pissed off with this, and I know that other people are going to get pissed off with what I have to say. If you put a 10, you're trolling. If you put a 10, you're actually an idiot. I'm sorry. I'm actually shocked, bro. I'm actually shocked. I'm actually shocked. I get called a Lewis hater. But I just look at facts, right? We're going to remove Lewis's name, right? We're going to remove Lewis's name from this. Tell me what this sounds like to you guys. A driver beat their teammate by a 10th, but made a mistake on their final lap and didn't out-qualify the McLarens when they should have in sprint quali. Then in the sprint, battled with that said McLaren and then finished behind his teammate because he lost the position. In qualifying, made a mistake on his final lap and got beaten by the McLarens. Then, in the race, amazing race pace, dealt with issues, came back to finish P2, absolutely annihilated his teammate. Right? To me, that sounds like no more than an 8. How can you make a mistake in all 4 sessions and get a 9? Are we trolling? Like, I know that was Lewis's best weekend in a while, but it doesn't mean it's a fantastic weekend. He made a mistake in every session. He finished behind his teammate in the sprint. He made a mistake on both his last qualifying laps to get out-qualified by McLaren. You guys were giving Leclerc a 5. Yet with demoting Leclerc because he didn't do good against the McLaren, Lewis finished behind the McLarens in both qualifying sessions. Like, what? I'm sorry, but this is a prime example of you're looking at Unc Lewis, who's had a great weekend for the first time in a while. Well, other than China. He's had his best weekend at Ferrari. And I agree, he's had his best weekend at Ferrari. But it's not a 9! Are we tripping? Literally one of you said in chat before, Lewis made a mistake here, made a mistake here, made a mistake in quali. So this is why I'm rating max. You literally just told me, oh, Lewis made 3 mistakes, this is what I'm rating max. But then it gets to Lewis and it's like, no. I can't, man. I can't. I agree, though, that Lewis had the best weekend he's had at Ferrari.
He deserved a 10 for sure.
If Hadja, right? If Hadja randomly beat Max one weekend, but then, and had his most comfortable weekend at Red Bull, but finished behind Arvid Lindblad, does that make it a fantastic weekend? I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to go with there. Matty Bumba! Thank you so much for the 16-month resub, dude. I appreciate coming to the tier 1. Okay, anyways, my rating. Let's go through it again. So for me, Lewis, in sprint qualifying, made a mistake on his final lap, got out-qualified by both McLarens when, like we just discussed with Leclerc, I think the Ferrari should have out-qualified the McLarens. At least he out-qualified his teammate, though, and at least he wasn't behind the Red Bulls. But still, I think he should have been ahead of the McLarens. In the sprint, he finished behind Lando. He was battling Piastri. Unfortunately, I don't think there was a bad mistake. I actually like what Lewis did going for the move on Piastri. I think it was the right thing to do. But he did ultimately lose out of position to Piastri and his teammate, finishing in P6. Then we get to qualifying. Again, made a mistake on his final lap, getting out qualified by both McLarens. At least he out qualified his teammate by a 10th, and didn't get out qualified by the Red Bulls. Good, but still could have beaten the McLarens. So again, I feel like it's like like an average quali. Probably say average sprint because he finished behind his teammate. An average average quality, average sprint quality. And then in the race, amazing. Like, amazing race, finishing P2. But the McLarens were out of the race. I guess it's not his fault. And neither did his teammate, and he beat Max. So, it's like, if I was to give him a 9.5 for the race, how much does his rating come down for sprint quali, and quali? I feel like 1.5 is fair. I feel like 8's solid. I feel like 8's solid. I feel like 8 is very solid. Like, mistakes in every session. You know? And keep in mind, you're comparing him to what you guys said. I'm not saying this. You guys said Leclerc's worst weekend ever. And he couldn't beat him in the sprint. And was qualifying right next to him. But I will say, like, Lewis's race pace was so good. This is the thing that I don't understand, right? Is Lewis's pace was so good. Race pace was so good. It's just the qualies, man. It's just the qualies. He needs to get in front of those McLarens, bruh. He needs to get in front of those McLarens. 5 because he is with Kim K. Okay. I know it's not a 10, but I am a fanboy, so I voted 10. Fairs, at least you admit it. Not good enough in quali, but otherwise good. 8.5, 9 for sure. Doesn't deserve higher than an 8. Messed up in both qualies mid-sprint. Actually, I do agree. It's an 8. Valid. I think the McLaren was better on race pace. To be honest, I will say, though, I think if McLaren's... Maybe this is a hot take. I don't know. No, this is not a hot take. No. I think if... Maybe... Whatever. If McLaren's were in the race, I think Lewis beats them. I think Lewis beats the McLarens in race pace if they're in the race. Oh, it's hard to say with Lando. He would have beaten Piastri's race pace, I think. Yeah, he only finished 10 seconds off of Antonelli as well. He's dealing with the issues. For me, it's just the mistakes and the you guys saying, and I agree, Leclerc had his worst weekend at Ferrari. But then Leclerc wasn't that far off of Lewis, if I'm being honest, in the qualifyings and the sprint. We're running the whole weekend, right? Remember, not just the race. In Friday. Cheese Cast. What is up, dude? Remember the stream. The sprint race, he would have beaten Charles if Oscar didn't force Lewis offline. I gotta disagree with that. I don't think Piastri did anything wrong. That was a fair move. Lewis chose to battle him. Oh, here we go. Here he is. People are just happy to see Lewis happy again. I'm happy to see Lewis happy again, bro. But it doesn't change the fact that he still made a mistake in every session. And finished behind his teammate and the McLarens in the sprint. They're not joking, by the way. Of course, February turns out exactly when Lewis. Hamilton hater, what a shame. I'm not a Hamilton hater, bro. Oh my god, I can't. I can't, bro. I actually can't. It shows he's the GOAT. Mistakes left and right, still getting a 9. Justice, Nino, there goes the follows. Yeah, but with Lewis, we only had to look at what he does good, not bad. Yes, but with Lewis, we only look at what he does good, not bad. Ah. Ponden comes to Expo and putting you in a chokehold. Whoa. Resorting to borderline violence right now. Every week it's the same argument about Lewis and the ratings. Honestly, it's the same. It's the same. The Lewis fans making up the same excuses for Lewis every single race and using the same excuses to bring down the rating of Charles, Lando, Max. Every single time. It's the same thing. Ignoring the excuses for Lewis, but using the same excuses for the drivers that pressurize Lewis. It's every single time. It blows my mind. Same with Kimmy, bro. Same with Kimmy. Kimmy, we're gonna get to Kimmy. We're not done with Kimmy yet, by the way. We're not done with Kimmy. We still got Kimmy to go. It's the same with Kimmy. Every single week. Kimmy, oh, we'll let that slide. We'll let that slide. We'll let that slide. Oh, but we'll use the exact same excuses to bring down Russell's rating. This weekend alone, I'd say 7.7. And look at the whole season, the weekend was a 9. No, that's the thing. That's the thing. You guys are. If I was to rate this as yo, Lewis, how was your weekend? I'm giving it a 9. Well done, Lewis. Great weekend. I loved your vibes. I loved your pace throughout the weekend. You're coming out of this weekend on a nice form. Woo! You proved that you're comfortable with that car. Came out of it with a P2. Nice! We're rating a performance. Mistakes in every session. Leclerc had his worst weekend, yet he was still somewhat close to Lewis. And I think that shows something. In the other sessions, we're ignoring the race here. Lewis is at 8.5, Antonelli a 7. I think you're forgetting main quali he had car issues. First half of the race, he lacked battery. I'm taking that into account with his race rating, though. What happened in quali? 200 Rob L. Myers in the chat, bro. Die for ecstasy. Zettree. There goes the follows. The thing is, right, this is why I'm so passionate about this with Lewis and Kimmy, is people think I'm a Kimmy or a Lewis hater. And that's just not the case. That I just get very annoyed when the excuses for one driver don't get applied to the other. You know what I mean? And that's my only point. I don't care if you rate Lewis a 9, but you can't then give Leclerc a 5 when he's qualifying right behind Lewis and finishing ahead of him in the sprint. But I do agree. I don't know. Maybe it's just the polarizingness of the sessions. Like, Leclerc sucked in the race, but he still beat him in the sprint, and he was still next to him in sprint quali, and was only a 10th off in quali. But it's his worst weekend ever. Worst weekend ever. Bro, we've got literal drivers on the grid out qualifying their teammate by 1 second. I'm spitting everywhere now because of you guys. Lewis bottled the last lap for both sprint and race, even though it wouldn't have changed anything. Wait, he bottled the last lap of the sprint of the race, sorry? He can't have qualified the Mercs. He did finish behind Leclerc, but only because of the fight against pressure. In the race, he went off once, and that's only his mistake. I agree with everything you said. I think the biggest thing that's being overlooked is I think the Ferrari should have out-qualified the McLarens. And both Leclerc and Lewis made mistakes on their laps, so they weren't able to. So I feel like, you know, like he could have beaten Piastri. I don't know. Like, the thing is, Leclerc is comparing himself to the McLarens and saying, I'm having a bad weekend. But then Lewis is going, I beat my teammate and I felt comfortable in the car. That was my best weekend. So it's like, what's the bar here? Is the bar here beating McLaren? Because if so, Lewis has failed to beat the McLaren in 3 sessions. And the one session he beat the McLarens, they both died. So it's like, if the bar's McLaren, Lewis is underwhelming. But if the bar's Leclerc, he's beaten Leclerc in 3 out of the 4 sessions. So it's like, what's the bar here? And that's where I feel like 8 is fair. Because it's like, okay, you beat Leclerc, and we know what level Leclerc's on. And you still had a really amazing race. But let's not forget, like, I think you should have been beating the McLarens, in my opinion. Or am I just overestimating McLaren here? I don't know. If I think back to sprint quali, I was like, come on, Lewis, front row. Oh, P5. And in quali, I was like, come on, Lewis, front row. Oh, P5. Is that not disappointment? Laxon, name of the follow. Never mentioned Child at any of his press conferences. Somewhat close, bro. Did you watch the race? I've got the step. I've got the results in front of me, and I'm talking about sprint and quali, man. I could see the gap in the race. George did more borderline violence with his car. Lewis is a 7 because the cost of his contract. Wait, what are we saying? McLaren with the Merc engine is better quali. I think McLarens are better than you think. Maybe. Again, if I sit here and said who's better in quali, I would say McLaren. But in the moment, I was cheering on Lewis to get front row. Like, you can literally go in the fan reactions and watch it. And I'm like, come on, Lewis. You can get front row. You can beat Kimmy. And then he's qualifying P5 behind the McLarens. You know what I mean? So do I put myself in the moment at the time, or do I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to stick to an 8. Maybe we disagree. But, again, overall weekend for Lewis, it is a 9 for Lewis standards, Lewis at Ferrari. I think from a performance rating, few too many mistakes over the course of a sprint weekend. And I think if the McLarens hadn't have crashed out of the... if the McLarens hadn't have fucking done their dumb shit out of the race, I don't think Lewis's weekend would have looked as good as it does. I think the P2 best finish is looking a little bit better because the McLarens were whack. But I'm not taking it away from Lewis because the McLarens were dumb. But it's also not the driver's fault. I don't know. Anyways, majority of you guys saying a 9. Again, I don't disagree. It just depends on how you do your ratings, man. It just depends on how you do your ratings. I just get annoyed when I get called a hater, bro. It's like, I'm not hating. I'm just very critical of everyone. And I think the love for Lewis and Kimi sometimes just disappears. You hoping he outqualifies the McLarens, and that actually being what that should have happened on pure car potential is 2 different things. I mean, yeah, true. Can't wait for Antonelli rating. He was slower than Hamilton all weekend. All right, now we move on to another one. Antonelli. Another result versus performance kind of... don't piss me off. Don't piss me off. Don't piss me off with him as well. Please, man. How have the... Oh, my God. All right. What do you rate Kimi out of 10? Get your votes in on the poll. If you just truly got in, all you have to do is type in chat the number, and it pops up on the poll. I think McLarens wouldn't have been there either way. Oscar crashed, Lando no engine. Alright, let's talk about Kimi. So, Kimi in sprint qualifying. Qualified P2. He did his job. He didn't get out qualified with the McLarens, but he was a 10th down on his teammate Russell. In the sprint, he went for aggressive move around the outside. Obviously, you could argue he was entitled or not, but I think he... In my opinion, I think with it being your teammate, yes, you're in a championship fight, but with your teammate, you could maybe wait for a better opportunity than sending it around the outside in turn 1. Got involved in an incident, went for an aggressive move, made a mistake, went off track, made another mistake, and ended up losing out to Lando, which is pretty disappointing, but still within a second of them, so it's not bad, but it's still like making a mistake, battling your teammate. I think you need to be a little bit more careful when it's your teammate. I get they're in a championship fight, but like, I don't know. Either way, he made 2 mistakes and lost position to Lando. Then in qualifying, again, did his job, front row, but a 10th off of Russell. So again, pretty high standard, but like still not the better driver of the 2. Then in the race, he got Russell and Lando. He got Russell off the start, which was great to see. And then that faded pretty quickly. Russell and him started a battle. Both of them making mistakes. You know, we've already spoken about Russell's mistakes during the race. Kimi also following the same mistakes of locking up a few times and then battling each other. we were robbed of the fight. We will never know if Kimi or Russell were the better driver in the race. You know, maybe they end up crashing. Maybe they end up making more mistakes. Who knows? But we'll never know. At the end of the day, Russell broke down. He cruised at home. Only 10 seconds ahead of Lewis. Maybe that margin should have been bigger. Maybe he was just cruising. Who knows? But he won the race. So what we did see of Antonelli was close fight with Russell. I personally think he wouldn't have come out on top against Russell, but we'll never know. But, okay, let's put it this way. Close fight with Russell with mistakes in the race. In quali, he got out-qualified by Russell, but just barely. In the sprint, close battle with Russell, but lost out to him and Lando. And then in sprint qualifying, lost out to Russell. So it was still a high performance. You know, we've got to remember at the end of the day, he's still in a Mercedes fighting for a championship against a high-level driver. But if we look to last year, I was very harsh on the Lando and Oscar because their car were clear of everyone else. And I think once again, I have to be harsh on these Mercedes drivers because they're clear of everyone else. And at the end of the day, you know, like, let's say we remove 0.5 for sprint quali because he didn't beat his teammate. We knock off, like, say 1.5 for sprint, and then 0.5 for quali, and then 0.5 for the mistakes in the race. Like, I don't know. That just adds up to, like, so much. I don't even know, bro. I don't even know. My brain's fried. Valtteri Antonelli? What? Sup, Crystal Web the stream, Limes, Linux, Alfredo. Do you think that Nicholas Soliver's penalties were fair if you watched the F2 race? I don't remember what happened to him now to have gotten penalties. I deduct Kimi a point always for having a good car. Okay. Everything was great except the sprint. He was holding up against George. Yeah. But this is the thing, though. Leclerc gets beat... No. This is what I mean by the inconsistencies. Leclerc gets beaten by Lewis by 1/10. And it's Lewis better than qualifying. But then Kimi gets beaten by Russell by 1/10. And it's... He did great. Wait, so getting beaten by your teammate in quali by a 10th is okay now? The number of people voting 9 when he was behind Russell in every session and behind him in the race before the latter car died. What did I rate Russell? What did I rate Russell? I will do his rating based off of Russell. I can't remember what I rated Russell now. In my opinion, Kimi was clear in pace, but Russell outclassed him by defending. Is that true, though? Because Russell outqualified him in both sessions. The overtake mode is powerful. If you stay in a second, they can overtake each other. Do you hear that Merck's engine could be banned? Banned? What the hell? I don't think so. Good job to Gabriel Parodi on leading the F2 championship. It's all perspective. He was still on P2, yeah. 0.68 behind both. How did you just happen to put my HLTV rating when typing that out? No idea, but Lewis also made a mistake. Even after that, Lewis beat him. Russell and Kimi maximized if you were going losing the track. Kimi was fastest in sprint, then also couldn't take Norris and Russell. I think I gave Russell an 8. Look, I'm gonna stick to my guns of what I personally feel. Kimi was beaten by Russell in sprint qualifying. Even though it was still at a high level, he still got beaten by him. But it was tight. It was tight. I'm gonna go 0.5. They're both performing at a high level there. I think the sprint was disappointing to me. I think, you know, multiple mistakes and losing the position to Lando. I'm gonna go 1.5 off for that. So we're down to an 8. And then I'm going to probably knock another 0.5 off for getting out qualified by 10th in quali. And then he didn't really do anything wrong on the race. He was just battling with Russell. So I'm going to go 7.5 from a performance level. He freaking won. He freaking won because Russell's car blew up, bruh. 7 is absolute max for his score, you reckon? DNS Lindblad 9. But it was... Do you guys know what rating a performance is? We're not rating a result. Kimi was gonna have him, but we don't know that. What we do know of Kimi was that he lost out the battle in the sprint, and he got out-qualified by Russell in both sessions. Wait, so you guys are saying Kimi should... Wait. I think we need to do another poll here, real quick. Okay, majority of you guys said 8 for Kimi. A few of you saying 9, you guys are crazy. Who had a better performance? Not result. Okay, let me change the wording on this. Who performed at a higher level this weekend? No, I'm gonna say make it even more specific. Who performed at a high level in level over the 4 sessions? Polls up. 1 for George, 2 for Kimmy. Who performed at a high level this weekend across all 4 sessions? Okay. Okay, so we all agree Russell had a better weekend. So what are we rating Russell out of 10? I'm seeing 8s and 9s. So if Russell was the better driver this weekend, and Kimmy was the worst driver, and we're giving Russell an 8 or 9, would that make Kimmy a 7 or 8? Guys, it's simple math. I can't, bro. The math ain't mathing with you guys sometimes, bro. This might be the most triggered I've been. Lewis and Kimmy this week might be the most triggered I've ever been with driver ratings. I'm not gonna lie. I respect the good. I'm respecting the chat today. I'm not seeing any bad comments in chat, but the math ain't mathin', guys. The math ain't mathin', bruh. You guys are saying Russell an 8 to 9, so let's give him an 8.5. If Russell was the better driver, wouldn't Kimmy getting us, and he's at a 8.5, wouldn't a 7.5 for Kimmy be a normal rating? No Mercedes found a loophole in the rules, now it's being filled up. Is that true? Have I missed something? Is there some massive news dropped in the last, like, 15 minutes? 8.5 Russell, 8 Kimmy. But Kimmy, so you're saying 0.5 lower for finishing behind your teammate in 3 sessions. So Lewis, okay. Not Lewis, sorry, Charles. You act like Russell was clear of Kimmy. Russell outqualified him but didn't outrace him. His fucking engine blew up! What should he do? From what we did see, he did outrace him, in my opinion. Run the race. We need to downgrade both ratings. No, how should Russell be lower than an 8? When he went 1-1-1 leading prior to getting blown up. You're telling me first leading is lower than an 8? I'm actually lost. The math ain't mathin', guys. The math ain't mathin'. I mean, Lewis was better than Russell this week. Give him the car. Lewis was better than Russell! Lewis made a mistake in every session. Franco's my driver of the weekend. Well done, bro. How is Franco my driver of the weekend now? Because of this. No, generally, no. What were actually my highest ratings? Lindblad, Franco, and... That's it. Oh, Russell. Norris? Oh, yeah, Norris. Yeah, I gave Norris a 9. Norris 9, Arvid 9, Franco 9, I think. I can't remember my ratings now. Yeah, bro, sprint quality was Lewis' only mistake. He lost a position to Charles in the sprint. And you guys were telling me that we were literally all thinking Lewis could have got front row in quali. Wait, no. I'm 90% sure we were... VOD review. Who's this angry man?
Lock the fuck in.
P6 for Max.
P6, he beat Tanjar. And Verstappen does not get a qualified. Yes. This year so far.
Russell takes exactly the same.
Getting it. He's not getting it. Russell, no. Woody. Piastri goes ahead of Hamilton.
Go on.
Get it.
No, he doesn't.
Here we
To
go.
the line. Oh, he's neck.
Hamilton's is literally in the fucking pits on his final lap. Are we serious, bro? He only made a mistake in sprint.
But yellow in the first, that doesn't necessarily mean slow.
Russell, I don't give a fuck about you.
Oh, that is so close to.
Norris, 12.
Wade.
Fucking solid lap from Arvid.
Oh.
Three.
Piastri.
I thought that was going to be way down the order.
Wait.
P3.
Has Lewis crossed the line yet?
I thought that was going to be way down the order. He's basically matched Lando.
We've got Leclerc and Antonelli. Leclerc, go on, P9 to P5, respectful.
Comes Kimi 6th at the
Oh, milliseconds off. He really... Wait, where's Lewis? I'm so confused. I'm 90% sure we were all like, come on, Lewis. Or is it here?
Send it. If you're ending a wall, it is what it is. Send it.
risk it all.
Come on. Us.
Oh, yeah, here it is. Here it is.
Us.
Oh my god. Please.
Can Hamilton go fastest?
Come on. Fuck.
Can Hamilton go fastest?
Oh, it's just off, but what a quali from Hamilton.
Damn.
I think that should be good enough for front row, I think that should be good enough for front row. We're sitting here thinking Lewis is fighting for the front row and he finishes behind the McLarens, and then magically when it comes to ratings time, oh, he was never fighting the McLarens, bro. He was never fighting the McLarens. We can't keep mixing it up, guys. We can't keep mixing it up. Wait. Oh, fuck. Bro. Wait, Femi, have I told you this already? Actually, let's wrap up driver ratings and then what the fuck am I doing? Alright, guys. I'm settling for a 7.5 for Antonelli. That is my conclusion. I think he got beaten by Russell in sprint quali. He made a mistake and lost a position to Lando and finished behind Russell in the sprint. Again, these guys are in the fastest car, right? They should be winning. And he's finishing P3. He then finished behind Russell in normal qualifying. He did win the race, but we'll never know how the battle would have actually turned out because we didn't actually get to see him versus Russell. But they were battling for that lead, which was nice to see. I think Kimi was weaker than Russell. I think the... now that I'm speaking it out loud, maybe I'm just tripping. No, maybe it isn't 8. Maybe because they were performing at a high level. They were performing at a high level, weren't they? Battling. I'm leaving it at 8. What's up, Alex Dell? I'm gonna leave it at 8. You need to start... You need to start letting people come and VC with you with their voice opinions. The rage baiting will go crazy. Could do. No, I don't think my brain could handle that. Dr. Basketball, theme of the follow. All right, I've already ended the poll. All right, guys, that wraps up the driver ratings. So drivers of the weekend from me. Franco Colapinto. Lando. Arvid Lindblad. And obviously George. Well done, everyone. Well done. To be honest, I must say, a pretty high-performing weekend from everyone, if I'm being honest. Like, Antonelli, Hamilton, Verstappen, Colapinto, Lindblad, Russell, Norris, all really performing at a high level. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Anyways, guys, thank you all for tuning on in for driver ratings. We're going to stay live on Twitch for a little bit longer. So if you're watching on YouTube, come join us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Ponden. Otherwise, YouTube, we're going to end there. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like down below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Next driver ratings, again, every Monday. I know we did it on Tuesday today, but we'll do it on Monday. We'll be back to our normal time. Anyways, thank you guys. Bye-bye.